Scholars, whether you want to admit it or not, in the modern day, Instagram is your business card. People use the app to date, to network, to make money, for power, and for ego trips. After all, people love to see a big number next to their name. They got 20,000 likes, a billion views, whatever. I get it. I've been using Instagram for years. I have a pretty popular Instagram, and my business is to consult people on making personal brands, to consult companies on building things, on building their brands, getting a wider audience, that kind of thing. But the only way to play the Instagram game really is there's only two ways. It's to either play it well or to not play at all. So a lot of people, myself included, for a long time thought, okay, I have my Instagram's private. It's only like my friends, people from my high school, family, whatever, people that I know who follow it. And so I can do whatever I want. I can post myself getting drunk. I can go out, have fun. I can show my friends being an idiot. But I think a big problem with it is that we've never seen before in human history is that Instagram is a fossil record of you as a person. If all you show is yourself getting drunk and having fun and going to concerts and being an idiot, that's all people are going to think of you. And sure, that might be good for you now, because after all, only your friends and family and people that you know follow you because it's your private account or whatever. That's how most people use the app. But you seriously underestimate how vast your network is going to be in the future. Sure, your buddy from high school might just be in college now and he's like looking at your videos, but one day he's gonna have a job and he's gonna be able to hire people, and if he's gonna be thinking about you, he's gonna be thinking, yeah, he's a good guy, but his Instagram is just of him being an idiot, so I'm not gonna respect him. And I think that's how you should be thinking about it. Your Instagram is like your business card. It's like your resume to the world. It shows what you do, how you do it, like what do you find interesting? What do you find interesting enough to post on your stories, on your posts, anything like that. And I don't think enough people are taking it seriously. Now, if you want to have like a Finsta, fake Insta for like only your closest friends, or like post on your close friend story, I think that's a whole nother thing. That's where you should be posting like the stuff that you just want to send out to your friends. But if you have, I don't know, like I have a close Instagram, like just for my friends. If you have 700 followers and you don't know each of them personally, like like on a deep level, and you're posting like, yo, I'm in this weird country with my boys and we're getting wasted every night, then that's 700 people who your reputation has now gone down in their eyes. And I don't think enough people are taking that into consideration when they're messing about. You've got to understand how to play the game if you're going to play it. And that means if you're going to play the game, if you're going to work hard, you got to be able to have good photos of yourself, good videos, stuff that shows you in a great light. So when people come back to see you, it doesn't matter who, if it's your grandma, potential, partner, a friend, whatever, they're going to see like, okay, this is this guy, person, lady, sorry, in the best light. And I think you got to be looking at that as like, this is a fossil record of your life as a human being. And if you want an example, you can look at mine, whatever. But if you're gonna have a public Instagram, especially if you're gonna have a public Instagram, you gotta understand that like, this is the first thing that people are gonna see when they look it up, when they look you up. A potential employer, potential mate. Girls love like stalking guys' Instagram and like being like, oh, he went here with like this person, and like, oh, he still hasn't taken down posts up with his ex-girlfriend. Is he like, how stable is that? Like that kind of stuff. You have to look at it with a third person view lens that no one but you can do, if that makes sense. You have to be able to be like, okay, I'm fucking up here, and this is ruining opportunities that I didn't even know I had in the first place. And on the opposite end of it, like if you just show yourself like going in suits, like going to business meetings, whatever, like showing yourself as a professional, sure, that might work well like with potential employers, things like that. But on the networking scale that I was talking about earlier, like Instagram's for dating, networking, making friends, everything like that, if you're using it to its fullest extent, you're going to look dry. You have to find a good middle ground here. You have to be like, okay, I can come across as a professional and I can come across as a personal person. And the only way to do that is to have a personal brand. Like I said, this is a hard game to play that not enough people know how to play properly. And if you want to learn more about that, click the link below, whatever. But yeah, like you have to understand, like, okay, I have multiple sides to myself. I have multiple sides to my personality. I can be I can be an active and sporty person. I can be a business person. I can be a social person. I can prove that I'm all these things, but you have to be able to put that on the line. And I think that's a bargain that not enough people are willing to make, putting their entire lives on the internet, even if it's just a private account with, 1,000 people following it or whatever, or if it's on a grand scale. You have to be able to get to that line and be like, okay, I'm comfortable sharing these things about myself. And that's only a game, that's a bargain that I think not enough people have come to terms with, which I think you should understand. The other end of the game, not playing it at all, is pretty simple. Just don't have an Instagram, or like just have like a thing with like just your close friends and family, and like people who you are actively talking to. So that way when you meet new people, I understand, it's 2026, you're like ostracized if you like don't have social media. It's like, what, are you a weirdo? Like if you have a flip phone even, it's like, what's going on? Is there something wrong with you? I get it. I've seen those situations. I personally don't have a problem with it, but I understand that those situations exist. However, if you're not willing to play the game properly, and of course, I totally get not wanting to play the game. It's a tough game to play, but it has its rewards. Like I said, the networking, blah blah blah, ego, power, that kind of thing. If you're not willing to play the game, take pride in not doing it. It's kind of a flex these days when I meet someone. It's like, oh, you only have 40 followers, and like you're posting, like you just got like one post from like 2017 or whatever. I'm like, you're on the grid. You get the pros of being on the grid, but also all the pros of being off the grid, if that makes sense. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool. But I think more people should be looking into that, of like, let me just get the most out of this without giving the most out of myself to this algorithm. I don't have to post, like stories and be like, oh, like only 100 people saw it, and like the girl who I wanted to see it didn't like it or whatever. Like, oh man, that it didn't work out. I think more people should take into the consideration of like, okay, let me just have a massive purge. This guy, this dick who I went to high school with, this girl who, I was supposed to go on a date with, but she ghosted me, this cousin who, I'm not talking to anymore, whatever. Like, I think more people should get rid of the ego of like, I need X amount of followers, and just like, just purge. Just be like, if you're not going to play this game properly, stop playing the game, get rid of all the people you don't want to see, and just use it as like, okay, I just want to use this to see the things that I want to see, because the internet's a great place to see the things you want to see and to message people. And that, I think, at the end of the day, is what the app should be used for people who aren't going to play it. And of course, for people who are like, I'm just going to be completely off grid. And like I said, I understand the arguments for that, but I also understand, like, listen, you can't fuck around. It's 2026. If and there's a decent chance an employer is going to ask for Instagram the same way an employer is going to ask for your email. It's just going to be like, what? You don't, how do you keep in touch with people? It's just, Zuckerberg has played us all, and we've all grown dependent on this system. So, like I said, it's either play the game or don't play at all. And yeah, it's not a safe space that like you think it is. Like, you believe it or not, I hate to break it to you, people get judged for everything. You're gonna get judged if you like, put a condom on your head, or like, like you play a prank on your buddy and like you post it on the internet. It might not happen now. You might not face the consequences of it now, but down the line, people are gonna remember back on that, or they're gonna look back at this fossil record of you at a point in time, and they're gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna judge 30-year-old you based on something you did when you were 17, because this is probably gonna last for a while at least, and by the time it's gone, who knows what opportunities you're gonna miss. So just be careful. I would say that's like my main thing. Just be careful, and if you're gonna play the game, fucking play it well, because if you do, the world does open up to you, but there's risks involved that I think you should understand. So like I said, I am a social media consultant for a living, and I've got my website down. down in the link, down in the description. So if you want to click on that, see some of the things that I can provide for you, whether you're just starting Instagram or you're a seasoned vet or you're running a company, like let me know. Maybe we can book a call and we can talk about it. But yeah, until next time, see you guys.